All right, so today we are talking about giving and receiving feedback. Most people have had the experience of either trying to tell somebody how to improve their thing and getting shouted down, or they were working on something and they got a bunch of criticism they didn't ask for that was completely inactionable. There was nothing they could do about it. Bosses are great at this. Feedback can be modeled in a couple of different ways, but the way that I think about it is noise versus signal and data points. So if it's all noise, that's when your boss tells you to be faster. That's not actionable, it's not helpful. If it's all signal, that's like saying this is off by 3 millimeters on level 3. That's not helpful either, because everything that is in between falls through the cracks. You can't find the things that you don't know you're looking for. So we have to have some noise and we have to have some signal, and finding the right balance is what this video is about. To start off, we're going to talk about taking feedback. Okay, there are a couple of big rules and then some considerations. Do not defend yourself. Do not explain. Do not discredit the person giving you feedback. Your only goal is to obtain data points. Every single person that tells you how something went, that is a data point. One data point alone is useless. We can't do anything with that. But when you get maybe 10 people that all thought the same way about something, you might have something to look at. And having a direction in development is critical. It is physically painful. You could go years, 6 years, with no feedback on things and have no idea whether you even need to keep working on them. Because maybe it's working, maybe it's not. You need feedback to have a direction and a heading in your development. Explaining why you did things the way you did or how you thought it would work out is not actually helpful in this exchange, because you're not trying to change their feedback. That is valuable data. Are they hearing what you're saying? That is what feedback aims to find. This is why you always want to ask open-ended questions or just let people talk. You do not want to ask leading questions like, was the monster scary? You want to ask, what'd you think of the monster? And now people are going to give you open-ended answers that might not be what you're looking for, but it's going to be more information than you would get without it. This is the necessary noise portion. So they might say that the monster was scary, but due to a visible zipper, it was more comedic than scary. You might have at no point realized the zipper was visible. By allowing some of that noise in, we can find these things that we don't know we're looking for. Also, it is insanely arrogant to have somebody spend time to give you feedback, to try and help you improve your thing, and to discredit that person. If somebody spends half an hour being like, hey, this is what I think would make your thing better, a lot of it's going to be noise. But there's a lot of noise when you communicate. Try to cut it out and get to the actionable things underneath, the valuable data for you, and thank that person. Invite them to come back again. Now, when you give feedback, this is different than pooping all over somebody's project. You can't just say this is bad, that's whack, this is silly. Those are not actionable things. That's not about how you experienced it. It's just not helpful. You want to focus on your experience of their work. You want to say, this made me feel X. This made me think that. This was unclear to me. As the person giving feedback, it's not enough to say, the monster wasn't scary. You want to be specific about why it wasn't scary. Maybe you think it came on too suddenly. Maybe you think it looks too much like a chicken. Maybe it's the zipper. We don't know. And your ability to include what you think the problem is will help the developer find 10 different people that all said the same thing and then find out that that's the problem. So never think that your individual experience is not helpful as feedback. That is exactly what is helpful as feedback. If something did not match your expectations, you should always include that. I expected that this would work this way. It actually worked that way. I expected that this guy was the bad guy, but it was actually the other guy. This allows the developer to look at, why did you expect that? How can I make it more clear that that is not what you should expect? Or can I build more expectation for the other thing? This is gold to make things more intuitive for the audience. If you happen to have a massive bias and you know about it, it is worth mentioning that in your feedback. For example, if you have a phobia of spiders, saying, I didn't like the spider, is not helpful. Saying I have a phobia of spiders and the spider really freaked me out is helpful because we know that we can discard that as noise. And that's not an insult to you. That's not saying your feedback's not valuable. It's just we know what we're working with at that point. A really common thing for people giving feedback is to try and play developer. They try to think, well, how might some segment of the population react to this thing? Like, I think some people might be confused by this. Is actually not helpful at all. It's pure noise. We want to know how you specifically experienced the work. You guessing how people might experience it is just not helpful. One thing that I try to do with feedback, and I encourage everyone to do it, is separate your suggestions from your feedback. Feedback is specifically how your experience with the work went. So if you thought the monster was scary, but it would be way scarier with a second head, you want to separate those two thoughts. Combined, the idea that it's scary, but it needs a second head, that is an unclear statement. Was it scary, or does it need a second head? By separating this into your feedback and your suggestions, it's clear that these are different thoughts, that it is currently scary, and it would be dope if it had a second head. And the reason for this is that it gives you the space to put as much noise as you need to articulate your thoughts without muddying the meaning of what you're trying to say. You also want to avoid platitudes. Now, this is the part that makes people uncomfortable giving feedback. They feel like they're being harsh. They feel like they're dumping all over your thing. But platitudes actually do way more harm than good, even if you mean it super well. Because as a developer, I can tell you that when you say, oh, I really like your game, but here's a page of things dumping on it, unfortunately, there is no way to say nice things alongside feedback without them sounding sarcastic. If there are specific things that you liked about the work, cite them. Say like, hey, that monster was scary. Hey, I really liked this mechanic. Hey, this worked for me. This landed. I expected this to happen and then it happened and that was satisfying. Just avoid the platitudes of like, I see that you've worked really hard on this, or this is coming along really well. Nobody wants to hear that stuff. It sounds sarcastic, it is physically painful, and it's pure noise. I know you want to be nice, but be nice by putting a lot of effort into the feedback so that we can actually use it to improve our work. Finally, and this is for both categories, people giving feedback and people taking feedback, suggestions are a data point. They are not actually suggestions. Saying that you want the monster to have two heads is your best attempt to articulate a separate thought. A thought that this thing would be scarier if it was more like this thing I can imagine. But the whole point of the developer is that they're not you. They have their own ideas. They have their own better ideas that you will never expect in a million years. However, there are things that fall into suggestions that you don't know are important because you don't know the developer's looking for that. He doesn't know he's looking for that. And when he sees your suggestion, like 2 heads, that gives me an amazing idea for 8 legs. And that is what we want. Okay, always include your suggestions. People will say don't do it, but I think it's so valuable to get like these off-the-wall suggestions about your work. It's exciting to read people's ideas for your work, and some of them are really bad, really stupid. But you're going to miss out on a couple of really, really good ideas, some golden nuggets, if you just discard all of the suggestions. Don't do that. So yes, I want to normalize giving better, more complete feedback to projects that are actively seeking feedback. It is like pulling teeth to get your friends and family to say anything remotely critical of something that you're working on because they see how hard you're working and they're like, well, I don't want to tell them it's bad. But then you go 6 years and your game sucks balls and you don't even know it because everyone told you it's so good. Just to recap, if you are taking on feedback, do not defend yourself. Do not explain. Do not discredit. Avoid leading questions. Understand that the person took the time to do the thing to help you. Value that. Data points mean nothing alone. If 1 guy says your game sucks, completely meaningless. If 5 guys say your game sucks, completely meaningless. They need to be more specific. And then for people giving feedback, you have 3 jobs. 1, tell us how it went for you. How did you feel? What did you think? What did you expect? How did it all land for you? Each individual specific thing that you can remember, that you can think about, mention it. List it. Was it good? Was it bad? Did you like it? Was it satisfying? Was it scary? Mention if you have biases. Job 2, avoid platitudes. Do not tell us what brave big boys we are. Just give us your experience and your suggestions. If we can all manage to start taking and giving better feedback, we can make better games.